Hello friends, I am today very happy to be in conversation with Elisabeth de Koning, who is a founder of the School of Conscious Being in north of Holland for 9 years now, where she together with her students researches and questions conscious living in a 3-year program. She has given in the last 17 years over 80 retreats in the Netherlands, France, Portugal, USA and Sri Lanka. So, welcome, Elisabeth. It's so nice to see you in this conversation. When I wrote to you asking this question, what is the sole intention of your School of Conscious Being? You replied to me, it is to be without subject, without object, and to be empty. Would you like to say something more about this intention?
Yes. First, very nice to have this conversation with you. It's wonderful that it's possible in these times. I don't like technical things so much, but this makes everything beautiful, that this is possible, that we connect. And this way of connecting to me is also opening in this open, wide space. I mean, this has a technical background now that is possible, but I think it's our capability to be in connecting with each other, also without this medium. And that is because the main space is the empty space, is total space. And if I start out with my students in a new group, I will discuss with them who they think they are, and they will start describing how old they are, whether they are married or not, whether they have a job or not, what their interests are. And then after some time, I tell them that most of the things they named are part of their conditioning, are part of their personality, but it's not who they really are. So what happens if you empty yourself of your personality, of all your belongings, of all your thoughts, of all your emotions, of all your goals? What is left? And in the beginning, they think nothing is left and it's boring and it's empty and it's what to do. And then we start exploring and exploring and exploring, and they find out that there is this sacredness in this being without a subject, being without a goal. Something tremendous is going to open. And if the program progresses, we always start every meeting with silence. And if you are for some time with a group of people together who start knowing this silence more and more, and if I say silence, I don't mean that there's no sounds, it's this deep spiritual silence, that it's the only thing which immediately gives fulfillment, gives the deepest nourishment there is. And if you sit then together, just sit in silence, it's as if the rest, whatever program there is not that much important, because it will all the time be carried by this silence. So this is also where we return over and over and over. We will return to this silence because it's the starting point, it's the ending point, and there is no end and there is no start. It's all words, and all the words will vanish once this silence is there. And at the same time, there is this possibility, because we have to work, we have to clean our house, we have to do the dishes, we want to make a walk. There is this possibility to integrate, to be totally integrated into silence and live your daily life. And I think this is amazing, 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 amazing. And to me, this is, I think it's the deepest thing of life, that if you leave everything, what is there? There's consciousness. If you leave everything, what is there? There's this huge love, which is not personal at all. It's a personal love is no love. There's love. There's a deep connection, and there's no choice whether I would love this being more than the other, or this situation more than the other, because it's all connecting. And so what we also investigate together is what relationship is like if silence, emptiness, is um, the foundation of the relation. What happens? Miracles happen. It's. I think it will transform all relationships if people start relating without subject, without goal, without wishing, thinking to belong to something, to wipe it away over and over and over again. That also means that you can't prepare. Because if you prepare, you make a doorway. And sometimes doorway is nice, but for a very short time. Because to be without all that, it's to be connected with the miracle of life. And well, if you let me talk, Mukesh, I keep on talking because I will not. But this is mainly what I do with my students.
Yeah, it is so beautiful. I also feel that there are only two questions which are really fundamental in our life. The first question is, who am I? And another question which is part of this question is, what is this I? And if we are able to explore this question, then I feel this questioning itself takes me to a place of silence. Because whatever reply comes from the old mind is just needs to be looked at. As you said, in whatever way I describe myself, my name, my form, my background, my profession, my yearnings, all that. Of course, they all have their relative place. We are not saying that they should be rejected. It is more of finding their proper place.
Yes.
Yeah. And but when we are totally identified with all these stories of the mind, then we are living a life which is less conscious, a life of ignorance. Then I'm identified with the stories, those psychological stories of the past. And then there is no real relationship. Then I'm not connecting with myself, with actually who am I. I'm connecting with only a bundle of stories. And this bundle of story is connecting to another bundle of stories. So what is happening? There is suffering, there is conflict, there is stress. And yeah, I don't know why this is really a very deep question. Why we are not exploring life in this way? Really asking these basic deep questions. And when we start asking, then I feel that every deep question takes me to that state of silence where I can't say anything. I become speechless. And I feel if we are able to relate on that ground of silence or emptiness, all relationships are so beautiful.
So beautiful. Because they are born over and over again in the moment, and they die the same moment to be born in that same moment. So it's so fully alive. Because where my thoughts come in the past will come in, my expectation will come in, my pain will come in. But if I meet you this very moment, it's so fulfilling. And I'm so much not knowing what is going to happen, what your next words or what my next words are going to be. And it's also not that important. It is as if something is listening through us, using the two of us at this moment to make something conscious in this. The relationship is not there with you. The relationship is not here. The relationship is here in the in-between, because this is the most empty. Still, I have a vision of you, and I know you have a vision of me in this moment. It's not. Yes. It's not that. It's not that. It's here.
Yeah, it is like, yeah, that this this space, inner space or silence or emptiness, whatever we may call it, that is not important. That is in action, that is relating with each other. And
Yeah,
then it is a totally different ground of relationship. As you
it is.
know, yeah, I always like what Rumi said, you know, can you meet me in that space where there are no boundaries? So all these great teachers, they are inviting us to meet
Yeah.
i- in that open, boundless space.
And if we meet each other in this space, in a way, we meet our deepest, deepest self.
Yeah.
Because in this deep space, there is no difference between you and me.
Yes.
And there is no choice. And there's no other importance than to be.
Yes.
And,
Absolutely.
and the other thing, which is to me is very important, once we enter together this silence, there is no time. And that is amazing. If you really enter together this timelessness, it's expanding. It's expanding, and it's doing it by itself. You're not the one who's expanding. Consciousness is expanding.
Yes, absolutely. And
Yeah.
as you said, that these differences, these superficial differences, they somehow become so dominant in our lives, in human beings' life,
Yeah.
and they occupy the whole of space. So, what is this exploration? How can we explore to see the reality of these superficial differences in the name of all this, when we describe who am I or who you are on the basis of my story and your story, my identification and your identification. So I was just wondering, can we explore what is the tool of exploration where we can see the reality of these differences, what they are, and allow them to die naturally rather than forcing them to die?
In a way, I would also say, as an entrance, love the differences. Love what is the difficulty. Just love it. Because love it is meaning I'm willing to understand. Even I don't understand yet, I'm willing to understand. I love it. I love my difficulties. I love my difficult thoughts. I want to understand it, not the superficial layer of my thoughts, but why am I thinking? What is happening within this thinking? Let's start with loving it, start to understand it.
Yes, and loving means not to judge it, not to condemn it,
No,
but
so
to
embrace.
yes, embrace it.
Yes, embrace it. Because if I embrace it, I'm not separating it. Because if I'm separating it, I'm aggressive to my thoughts and say, I put them there. It's not mine, but it still stays mine. Or I give it to somebody else. If this person is thinking so much, it doesn't matter. If I think this person is thinking so much, it's just that part of me who is thinking so much. So only with the loving, with the integration, with the understanding, it will become silent. Because if it's understood, if it's loved, if it's connected, there is no need to come forward like this.
Yes,
Because there's no identification with my thoughts, there's embracing of the thoughts. And then it's not so much that I want to find out what I'm thinking, but I want to understand this part of me who thinks that in thinking is important. I want to understand the thinker
yes,
and whether the thinker does exist or does not exist. And it's a story and a story and a storyline.
yes. And to observe what is taking place just as it is. And in that observation, there is no sense of judgment. There is just simple looking and learning about it without any sense of condemnation, like not treating all these differences or superficial layers as something enemy. It is just to give the space and allow them to flower and die in that
Yeah,
space, if we
yeah,
can say.
yeah.
So this way of exploration is also a way of love or compassion.
Yes. And also, if you embrace it like this, I mean, most of the thoughts um, want to make themselves outstanding, want to separate themselves from other thoughts and say, look how important I am. This is a very important thought. So it brings back in the center, and it starts to fill my emptiness. So just loving it, it can't find a place to identify, because I don't give it that soil. I just say, you're so welcome. And then it's, in a way, it will vaporize, because I'm not going to make an identity out of it.
Yes.
And it's such a thin layer, because if I know thoughts are just thought and nothing more than that, I will sink to a very deep place. I mean, the space in which the thoughts arise is so tremendous that the thoughts is almost nothing.
Yeah, I sometimes calls like all these thoughts, emotions, feelings, they are like children who are seeking attention.
Yeah, yes,
So,
yeah,
so how do you treat your children? So you have to give attention, and attention with love and care, and then you look at relate to those children which are born inside you, and once you have attended them fully, completely, they naturally, dissolve, not
yeah.
like I am making them dissolve.
And also, if you bring your attention to this very moment, I can't be totally in this moment and having thoughts. It just can't go together. So if I bring myself really, really in this very moment, there are no thoughts. And to me, it becomes a miracle which words are coming out of my mouth, which words I hear from you, because there's no preparation. The only preparation you can do is being prepared, being willing. That's the only preparation you can have to live. I'm willing.
Yes,
Yeah.
this deep interest in exploring, and this inquisitiveness, and like we can also see that it is thought which creates this sense of I or the me.
Yes.
So once thought is seen for what it is, that sense of psychological self is also not there.
No. And that's such freedom. I mean, this is the real freedom, to be without I. Because otherwise, I have to um, be careful about the definition I made about myself. I have to make a very nice identity, and my energy and my thoughts will go to that, whether my identity is nice or worthful or
Yeah.
whatever. And if that has shown of being a part of untruth, then I'm free. And I'm free to find out. If you say, who are you? I'm free to find out in every moment, over and over again, who I am.
Yes. And sometimes when I talk to people, friends, they also get frightened of this idea that if this I is not there, thoughts are not there, then what will be left? Like, how
Yes.
will I function in day-to-day world? And so this question comes back again and again. So I feel that this we have to discern between this physical self, biological self, which is needed in our day-to-day living, and
Mm.
then there is a psychological aspect of it. So what is being questioned is that psychological aspect, not this body. And thought, they have their right place. Desires, emotions, they have their right place. So giving their right place is important.
Yes, and I think, I mean, people who are um, trying to live consciousness, they very soon find out that this body is a vehicle, temporary vehicle, part of time. your personality, my personality, if you want to say you have a personality, this personality is part of time. So it's also a vehicle. So what of me is not part of time? And that of me, which is not part of time, is not a me. So what I can call me is part of time. And the I, which I don't know if we should call it I, but it's the entrance to everything, the entrance to everything. And I do think there's personality. I do think some people like strawberries and other ones don't, but it doesn't matter. It's like a horse will eat grass and a tiger will eat another animal. We can have our thoughts about this, but it's as it is. It's not that interesting. What is interesting is that of me and you and of anyone which is not depending on time. So if there's this part of me which is not depending on time, then everything opens up. And sometimes when we are in meditation, it doesn't happen that often, but sometimes somebody unquestioned falls fully together with this empty space. And within seconds, they get a panic attack because the personality is what you named before, so frightened, like, am I getting crazy? I don't know who I am anymore. And then I just tell them, it's your ego being afraid to die. Who you really are can't die. You can't die. Everything which is connected to time can die. So yes, your body can die. And yes, your personality will change. And maybe many things can come and go, but who you are can't. So if everything falls away, you are the immortal you.
Yes, that timeless or that deathless. And
Yeah.
Somehow we don't ask that deepest question, like what is that timeless or that deathless? Maybe that is not the priority of, most of humans' life. They are more concerned with the personality, how to manage the personality, how to make it improve, how to manage it better. So you see in most of the spiritual circles, the the whole quest seems like management of the personality and improving it. But
Yes.
and this question is actually hardly really honestly touched if there is something which is timeless or deathless.
And it's so important because so many people are so frightened of death. And death is so loving. It's so extremely loving. So you open yourself to love if you're willing to die. But people also, because there's so much identification with the body, death to them only means the death of this mortal body. But if they learn the deeper meaning of death as being transformation, as making free of the energy, something else will happen.
Yes.
So I think it's very important to bring this subject over and over in attention.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as Krishnamurti says that without dying, living is not possible, true living. So living and dying, they go together.
Yes.
Yeah. And if I am just holding on to, that kind of living which is based on accumulation, gathering of more and more the past energy or thoughts or stories, then actually no living is happening. So that dying, psychological dying of all those, accumulation is
Yes.
so important.
It's so important. And it gives also so much freedom to learn. Because if I don't die, I'm filled with all this knowledge, whatever knowledge it is, and all those assumptions, whatever they are. But if I die to them, I can, like a child, open up again and see and do a real investigation in whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
how do you relate to this insight of Krishnamurti when he says that you cannot find truth or that timeless through any path or through any system or through any technique?
I fully found out that this is very true. This is very, very true, because every path, if I choose a beautiful path, it says no to the rest of it. If I take a beautiful book and I say, this is the book, I say no to the rest which is there. And truth will not be selective. If something is true, it will be true for everything, everywhere, everybody, every situation. Otherwise, it's not truth. So truth is not selective. All the great things are not selective. And yeah, Krishnamurti, I think he's one of the greatest spirits who ever visited Earth. And to me, he was extremely important to my development. I think I heard of him for the first time when I was 19. I'm 62 now. And I've been reading him ever since. And in the beginning, it was really shocking to me, like reading like Live a Life Without a Center. I didn't know what he was talking about, but my whole, and that's interesting, something else, so my personality didn't understood, but there was something else who was totally upside down and so deeply touched that although I didn't understood a thing when I was 19, I kept on reading, like I have to get a feel of this. And now there's something contradictory, what I'm going to tell now, because before we just said that personalities have no value in the sense of what truth is, in the sense of time and timelessness. But at the same time, a personality, like Krishnamurti had a personality, he had a physical body. And if somebody lives so much in truth like he did, in a way he was walking through, in my experience, this person becomes so, let's not say person, this being becomes so transparent that this being radiates, emanates truth. So in the beginning years, because not understanding him took me a long time, and I will not say that I understand him now, but I will keep on opening up, I will keep on researching in this, but I started seeing videos of him, and of course I had numbers and still have numbers of his books, but once I see him or I hold a book with his picture, something happens. Then his energy starts radiating, and if I then read or listen, something more is coming, something much more than the words is coming, something much more than the book, much more than the video. It is something bigger, is filling the space, is speaking through the silences between the words. Something is happening. So I think if a being lives truth, is truth, then the presence, even if he's not alive on this planet, there's something of this energy you can still connect to, which must have been wonderful if you really met him in person, which I never did. Let's say he's communicating to me from timelessness in many ways, not only through his words. I don't know if you ever had a similar experience with this.
Yeah, like what I have experienced that like through this exploration which has been happening for almost 2.5 decades, this is an exploration into the unknown. And there are different dimensions, uh, states of being. And somehow, each time when I connect to these timeless teachings, uh, I feel a sense of emptiness, a sense of a living emptiness. And yeah, like I become silent. There is a sense of sacredness, a sense of silence. It's difficult to describe in words what happened.
Yes.
And it's like more or more there is an inner opening to this, to that vast centerless space. And it's very difficult to say what it is.
That's
Uh,
true. Because once you start describing it, it becomes smaller than it is.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I can only describe the teachings as ever expanding silence. Like, you know, the teachings are not just in the words, but
No. The
what is
words,
beyond the
yeah.
words.
And to me, it's also coming home.
Yeah.
Because
But
everything represents truth. So it's coming home in where you belong.
yeah.
It's where you truly belong.
Yes. And these words, they are like pointers or carriers towards that vast space, which is beyond all boundaries. So, can I listen to that? And for that listening, mind has to be quieter, silent. And there are depths to that silence. It's like, that silence is deepening. So I feel it's a great gift to humanity.
Oh, it is. Oh, it is. And because it's so timeless, it will stay a gift of humanity.
Yeah.
It's, I would wish it will open up for a tremendous amount of people.
Hmm.
Yeah. But then you find it when you're ready. This is also so amazing.
Yeah.
When you're empty, truth will come to you.
Hmm.
Well, truth is there, but when you're empty,
Yes.
it will find you. It's yeah.
Yeah. When you are not there, the other is.
Everything
Krishnamurti
is
used to
there.
say that. So I am the block to that, that truth. If,
Yes.
or rather, I is the block
I is the block.
with
Yeah.
with which I have identified myself. So if I look at this whole structure of the I, the mechanism of the I, then yeah, that mechanism becomes silent.
Mm-hmm.
And then the capacity for the mind to generate suffering or sorrow becomes less and less. Yeah, it is so beautiful. Like, as we are talking, I can like feel that, silence is coming, and it is becoming difficult to use words.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, Elisabeth, if you have to, uh, like, after all these years of exploration and learning, if you have to summarize uh, what you have learned, like in few words, what would you say? Or the like, this is something which is really very important.
Let go.
Let go.
Let go and also enjoy.
Mm.
Because all these thoughts, they take your capability to enjoy life away. Because thought will always tell you it's not good enough, or it can be better, or it should be different, or you should work harder, or whatever message you get. If you let go, then also the joy of life. I think the greatest capability, which is maybe what we really have to open up to is to enjoy life. And then this deep joy of being alive. Let go and be alive. Be this empty space.
Yes. And
Be our friends.
so beautiful. And just if I have to say, I would say, which is actually connected to what you have shared, that look, listen, and be still. So these three words come to my being, like, just look and listen and be still. And that looking and listening happens from that emptiness, from that state of silence.
Yeah.
So, and then there is a possibility of love to flower in our day-to-day life. And I feel that is what matters in our this whole quest, whether we call it quest for truth or self-inquiry. If it is not bringing that deep affection, love, sense of wonder, beauty in our day-to-day life, then it has no, meaning.
It's true. It's true. And every relationship is in this silence. And every relationship is finding out who you are. I think this is the miracle of the differentiation. The positive thing of differentiation is you have all these wonderful beings to meet a deeper layer of life. To the relationship, finding out a relationship is by the gratitude that you are there in this moment. So I can learn about relationship in this conversation.
Yes.
And so that's, to me, that's my gratitude, my gratefulness that there is the differentiation to meet, to create relationship in my English is failing from time to time, countless possibilities to relate, countless. And in every relationship, life will find itself out again through us. That's also, if I'm empty, if you're empty, life will use us in the most positive possible sense. So have yourself being used in this very high sense is just being an instrument to the divine.
Yes, so beautiful. And whatever happens in life, any event, any crisis, or any suffering, like it's an invitation, an open invitation to go deeper into oneself,
Yeah.
to find the source of who actually you are. And it is in that sense, every happening on this planet can be a doorway to transformation.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So, Elisabeth, thank you so much for connecting in these times. And we may meet again. And so I convey my deepest greetings to you and all the members of his school.
Thank you so much, Mukesh. It was a real pleasure to share the silence and the empty space.
Yeah, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.